Welcome to the Flynn Effect podcast, where we dive deep into all things culture, industry news, and history, all with the goal of helping our clients to perform better. Heather Riexinger, welcome back to the Flynn Effect.
Thank you.
I believe this is your 6th time on the show.
I'm just waiting for you to give me the co-host spot, so I'll continue until that is official.
I will consider it. But today we're doing something a little bit different. Normally we talk about, current events, hot topics, whatever. And this isn't, I guess, too dissimilar, but there is a recent research report that has come out from Resonate, the Consumer Trends Report, Fall 2025 Outlook. And so we're going to dive into the information in that, talk a little bit about consumer sentiment around things like the economy, holiday spending, health, and media right now. This is something I believe that Resonate does on a quarterly basis, and they track those trends over time. So we'll probably pull it up each time as well, because it just gives you a good sense of sort of what's in the mind's eye of the American people at any given time. Starting with the economy.
Everyone's favorite topic.
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
Well, start with the positive.
Yeah.
I think so. The interesting thing is we are all so inundated with social media, the news, and everyone, the world is ending. Everything is always horrible.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to look at reports like this and see how the average person is really feeling. And it said that, almost 70% of people rate the U.S. economy as poor or fair. There is optimism going into the holiday season. So, there's a lot of stats here saying that over the last 6 months, the combined number of consumers who are concerned about the economy fell by 28%.
Right.
So
it's a big drop.
It's a large drop. And I don't have breakout by, income, anything like that. In here, we would assume that there's some disparity and some differences between those audiences. But it was really nice to see that the average person is feeling better about the economy, is feeling, as we kind of get into this tariff world, that things aren't becoming too expensive. So, but that being said, I would assume that the people that Resonate is reaching out to aren't very low income audiences. So we need to take that into account too. But it was just great to see that the average person is starting to feel a little bit better about the economy and better about their own pocketbook and the effects.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting because while tariffs have gone up and prices of goods have gone up in many cases, there's also been this interesting positive effect on the stock market, on people's 401ks. And so I think if you're able to say, okay, well, let's just wait and see, let's ride out the storm and see how everything levels out. And, in particular in this report, it was saying, there's no like major concerns about a crash like in the 1920s right now. I kind of feel like people are just like so sick of hearing about it all that they're like, it's fine, it'll pass, this is how it works. Like, we've all read Freakonomics, it goes in cycles. And are just sort of like, let's just not drastically change our lives and go into like a depression mindset because I don't know, let's live while we're alive. Like, or perhaps that's just me, focus group of one, but I'm kind of getting that vibe from people I'm having discussions with as well.
Yeah. And that's what I'm in. Our 401k statement came out this week, and I opened it and I was like, wow, I don't look at it regularly because I just write it out. Don't let it stress you. And, mine was up significantly this year. I'm like, this is a nice thing to see.
Yeah.
But and I think too, prices haven't gone up, in my opinion, as much as we thought they would. So there was a lot of concern about the tariffs really, doubling, tripling prices of certain things. And although there definitely has been price increases, they haven't been significant to that extent.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too. I know at one time, like Amazon, for example, was marking when it was a tariff cost increase. And did that get taken away? Like,
I haven't seen that on there in a while.
I thought it was Amazon. I can fact check myself and put it in the description, but I think that transparency too of like, this isn't just, you know, brand A deciding to charge you way more. This is because of X, Y, and Z helps a lot too with that sentiment around continuing to purchase.
Yeah. And that was an interesting piece I'm sure you saw in this report as well, is the blame for the inflation changed drastically. So over time, people like to blame the brands or increases. And, they talk a lot about, especially in the CPG category where, oh my gosh, my M&Ms, used to be 16 ounces and now it's 15.2 and it's the same price. So there's always been that discussion. And now it's shifting to everyone is blaming the tariffs for price increases. So brands are actually getting a little reprieve from the hate and the discussion. So it's a good time for marketers and brands that consumers aren't as, I don't want to say they're not as price sensitive. They're just as much price sensitive, but they're not getting upset with the brands for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I find that very interesting. There's this line in Wicked, Jeff Goldblum says it, that's nothing brings people together like a common enemy.
Yeah.
That just made me think of in terms of the tariff. And perhaps that was the plan. This is not a political podcast, so I won't go into personal opinions. But in terms of blame, it's both going to the government and the tariffs, which, I mean, I guess is good for the brands that we work with now.
Yeah, corporate America is getting a little break from the hate.
I mean, but there is a lot of air in those chip bags,
There is. I know. I ate a bag of chips in a couple days. Well, there was only
that Pringles can
this many in there.
No, I totally hear that. But on the same point around consumer spending habits and whatnot, what I found really interesting is, yes, everybody knows that price increases are happening, that it's government policies, that it's tariffs that are that are making this happen. But people are basically saying like, I'm just going to spend the same amount. I'm not going to stop myself from making bigger luxury purchases. The one place where it seemed like people were pulling back a little bit was on travel plans.
And eating, other than I saw too, restaurants and eating out seem to be, takeout and restaurants seem to be getting hit a little bit there. So that'll be interesting to see what their stock, and sales are looking like at the end of the year, and if that's truly being affected or if people are just trying to cut back a little bit.
Yeah. Well, now conversely, I found it interesting because one of the sections in this is holiday spending. And that's kind of the opposite. People are like, I'm going to spend a little bit less. Nearly 40% of people who were polled said that they're planning to spend less on presents this year. And then interestingly, 60% of people said that they were planning to shop in stores. So those are like two separate trends. But to speak to the first for a moment, I do think it's interesting because this year, my like immediate family, like my siblings and their partners and my parents, we have always gotten things for everyone. And maybe it's just because I have a young child and I don't want to deal with it. But I was like, can we pick names this year? Like, it'll be cheaper for us all. We don't need all of this stuff. Yeah. Like, let's just, which is ironic because, I have an Amazon package at my house every day. But we were all in agreement, like, let's cut back a little bit this year. So it was interesting to see that that's kind of the vibe across Americans as well in a big kind of way.
Yeah, I think there's been the trend for a few years now, I know, with having an 8-year-old is you don't need more stuff for your kids as well. And experiences has been a big topic in the purchasing for children of, buy my kid a ticket to a museum, take them somewhere. They don't need another gift. Just take them and spend some time with them. They'll love that even more. And then, the truth is, I hear the same thing. I said to my daughter, do you want to go on vacation over Christmas? And she said, no, I want to be at home to play with my new toys. Yeah. I'm like, okay, there is still some.
Totally hear that. No, but I think that's a good point. I mean, we have consciously gifted families with young children like an annual pass to the zoo or the Rochester Museum and Science Center, things like that in the last few years. Because I didn't even you always hear everybody talk about all this
Mhm.
stuff. And I only have a 1.5-year-old, but like, oh my gosh, this stuff.
Yeah.
Why are there so many small pieces to all of these toys?
Yeah.
They're in 3 different places in the house. Like, it's everywhere.
Mhm.
It's absolute chaos. So
Yeah. Just wait.
I'm fully in support of, thanks. I'm fully in support of backing it down.
Yeah. So that was good to see that people are feeling like holiday shopping will stay pretty consistent from where it's been. And to your point, the in-store shopping,
Yeah.
there's a few things that I've seen recently, following a lot of retail publications, is this trend for brick and mortar and shopping back in store. It, for years it was the mall is gone. Why do we still have malls? And now people are enjoying them more. I know the mall right by our office is almost at capacity with stores.
The mall is
always
poppin'.
busy.
I went when we were, my son was off of daycare a couple of Mondays ago. I went, chaos. The Annie Ann's line, like 100 yards back.
It's back to the 90s.
I still waited, but yeah, it's remarkable.
So and I think that's where some of these tariffs, this is just a personal opinion and hypothesis, is the big corporations are also being, part of the problem in a lot of Americans' views. So the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Targets.
Sure.
People are trying to find alternatives, and whether that's at a mall or shopping small, they want to support those businesses and help them out. I saw locally there is a bookstore that's being affected by some closures in streets around them.
Oh.
And the community rallied around to try and save the bookstore. As soon as the report came out that they may need to close this longstanding bookstore, people instantly went to purchase from them to show support, which I think is
I love
really
that.
heartening.
That sounds like a Hallmark movie.
I know.
In a very positive
Well, and
way.
it's right on the Erie Canal, so it is like a heart, it is a Hallmark movie. They should just come and shoot it.
Yeah, we'll pitch it. The interesting part, which is getting to the next topic a little bit in health, is I think healthcare is the one place where people are very worried about what the tariffs are going to mean for drugs and for other, health related things that we all need and rely on. And a lot of what was in here was focused on vaccines and trust and things around that. And I think if you spend any amount of time on social media, like, you can deduce fairly quickly that trust in vaccines is going down and, skepticism is going up. People are very concerned about their safety.
Yeah.
But, from a other healthcare and drug related perspective, I'm not sure that that's going to necessarily like eat into people's willingness to still take their blood pressure medicine or cholesterol medicine or those types of things, you know?
I think the conversation there still continues to be around the cost of healthcare and the cost of insurance. I know
people are
as
really
a
worried about that
owner,
for 26.
You've started to see some of those numbers for 26 already. And
actually, our meeting is next week, and we usually sort of joke, like, because if you're not laughing, you're crying. Like, the cost of insurance pretty much goes up for us as a business and for individuals 15% every year. So we're always increasing accordingly to make sure that that's not, getting passed on too much to the staff. But it is wild, the increases that occur every year. And as a very small business, we don't have that benefit of, having 5,000 employees where you're really getting some of that like group buying, like bulk discounts. But yeah, I'm nervous to see, because I think it's going to be a lot more than it has been year over year for the past couple of years.
Yeah. And I think there's some medications too. My daughter takes a monthly medication that costs $90 a month. We pay out of pocket with insurance for that. And luckily we're in a situation where that doesn't affect us too much.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy, the fees and where drugs are going now.
No, absolutely. It's scary. But yeah, I think it remains to be seen a little bit what's going to actually happen. We keep hearing that the prices are going to go up and up and up, but until we actually see that and consumers are feeling it, we probably won't have the data. It'll lag a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, Heather. Last thing we got here is media. And this was kind of just a quick topic. They didn't have a whole lot to say about it.
No, I don't even think I printed anything out from that section.
It was one key fact. Basically, where are people getting their news? And the answer is, the MSNBC, New York Times, and I think the Washington Post was the last one. But interestingly enough, the local news viewership has gone down 7% in the last year, which is, not nothing. And the reason I bring that up is because from a local and regional partner perspective, sometimes traditional media placements are happening during those types of hours. And so it'll be interesting to see if that shifts in terms of not really being premium spots anymore.
Yeah, it is interesting. Some of it, I think, is due to the decrease in cable subscriptions and shift to streaming that some no longer have the local.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see how that's affected. I know most of our local buys are in news and live sports. And that's where the majority of eyes are these days. Is still, if you're watching live, it's those two topics.
It makes sense. Although I gotta say, and this is not a revolutionary take, but we turned on the news for 5 minutes last week. Grayson was playing in the living room and we turned it on. It is probably 5 or 6 devastating stories in a row. And then I was like, I don't want to watch this. I don't want Grayson to even hear it. It was just murder, school shooting, terrible thing. Prices are going up here. People are losing insurance. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to not be aware, but I can't digest it while it's getting flung at me in that way.
No,
so I get it. I think people are protecting their peace a little bit, which is understandable.
Yeah. And that's why I love TikTok and just watching the nonsense that goes on. And even there, there's a lot of political takes and bad news that you have to sift through or fact check as you watch.
I think all the more reason then for brands to be connecting with their consumers in an authentic way, right? Coming with heart. And I think there was this story and I can't remember what actual organization it was for, but you've seen the recent story about the AI character that was basically given leukemia for this ad campaign.
Yeah.
And it was the sentiment behind it is right, but it just was you really gotta make sure you're paying attention to your audience and figuring out how something like this is gonna land.
Yeah, that was not my favorite campaign.
I think it's all of this, in my opinion, is an argument for authenticity in your marketing, in your messaging, in your experiences that you're creating for your customers.
Yeah.
People are just looking for a little bit of peace,
Yeah.
And kindness.
Happiness.
Yeah. Well, all right. Those were all of my notes. Anything else that you had highlighted you wanted to discuss?
No, it really was just nice to see that all the negative we are hit with, is how the minority of people are feeling, and that although we're all being cautious and watching our investments and watching our spending, that it doesn't feel as dire as it may have even 6 months ago.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, Heather.
Yeah.
We'll see you again soon.
See you next week.